Hey, what is up guys? So we're going to be doing that deck profile for the Blazed Geargia deck that I've been playing, and it's a very fun deck. If you like OTK decks, this is definitely one for you, and it's pretty fun. Not everything is legal currently in the TCG. We're still waiting on this. Once this card comes out, I mean, so many other random decks will do very well. I mean, this is basically a splashable card in most decks because Instant Fusion, super OP with Nodin. But anyways, let's go and jump right into the deck profile, explain all the choices as we go along. So first off, we got 3 copies of Geargia Accelerator. Basically, you go Geargia Augur, and then you search out Accelerator and you special summon it turn 1. But you can also go Geargia Augur into Ancient Gearbox to search out another copy of Geargia Augur. It all depends on if you have stuff to actually protect your Geargia Augur with, because remember, you won't be able to actually attack this turn. So that's something that's kind of a downside. Plus, you can only special summon machine type monsters. But another plus with Geargia Augur is you can special summon, you can attack, you can do everything, and then you can actually go for Geargia Augur's effect. And then basically you don't have a downside of his effect. But yeah, pretty much Geargia Accelerator just makes your plays much faster if you have to play aggressive. Maybe you know that you're playing against Cleese, which is a deck that can, you know, just absolutely just wreck you in one turn if you don't happen to have, like, you know, back row and stuff like that. So really love Geargia Accelerator, pretty self-explanatory. Next up, 2 copies of Blazeman. Technically you could say that I'm playing 3. I don't really like to draw him. I really love Summoner Monk. And I love going Summoner Monk into Blazeman because he gets his effect when he's normal or special summon. It just lets you add a polymerization. And that's basically all the utility he has. Plus he's level 4, so if he survives, he's not too bad. But next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Geargia Armor. This is just awesome because if you open up with this or Augur, basically you have like a good play within the next few turns. You should be able to kind of push for game. I mean, it's an OTK based deck. If you guys have played Geargias, you know if you open up with this and you have one of these, pretty much you have game, unless of course your opponent has back row or they've OTK'd you or they throw up a Vanity's Emptiness. Basically setting this is another great first turn. At one point I was debating on running Duality, but I kind of like that like random factor of your opponent doesn't even know what the heck's going on. They're like, what is these Geargia E heroes, and you're going to bring out Blazeman. They don't even know what the heck happened. And then like they say volcanic cards. It's crazy. But next up, I'm playing 2 copies of Summoner Monk. This is just, it's so good. Okay, let me go and actually tell you guys like the best play that you can really do with this deck, which is basically Summoner Monk. You discard whatever spell, you've got tons in this deck. So then you go ahead and special summon this bad boy over here. Then you get to add polymerization. And then what you're going to do is you're going to overlay both of these guys and you're going to make Lavallo Chain. And so these, we'll just put up, it doesn't really matter what you detach. It's kind of irrelevant, but let's just say that for the sake of this video, we're just going to keep it as clean as possible. And then what we're going to do is we're going to activate Lavallo Chain's effect. Again, doesn't matter what you detach because we don't play Miracle. Then you're going to go ahead and go for Volcanic Shell, and then you're going to go ahead and actually send this card to the graveyard with the effect of Lavallo Chain, and then you activate this card's effect, and then you pay 500 life points, then you add one from your deck to your hand. And even though it says once per turn, while this card's in the graveyard, you can activate different Volcanic Shell's effects. So basically, the downside doesn't really exist with this. It's just you can't use the same copy over and over. It's just that once you activate one of them's effect, you're going to add another one, and then if you activate Poly, of course, you send this one to the graveyard, and you can activate this one's effect. So if this one's uses effect, you can go with this one's effect. So, like I said, there's really no downside with this card. And then from here, you've used, well, you're going to have to have Summoner Monk and 1 card, but still, you're going to have an 18 beater on board, and you're going to have Poly, and you have Volcanic Shell. So, of course, more likely you'll have a machine, and then you can go for the Blaze. And then from there, you can, you know, extend your combos. Maybe you had an Accelerator, maybe you had a Geargia Armor that was set or something previously. So there's a lot of combos that basically extend off of this. But it's a very simple deck to play too. All right. But next up, we're playing 2 Ancient Gearbox. This just adds more machines to your hand. So, like I said before, it's just you go Geargia Augur, and then you can search this, and then this card adds another one of these. So it kind of like loops itself. So that's the basic little thing. But I wouldn't recommend doing that little loop thing if you happen to have a hand that has no back row protection, and you know you're playing against a deck that can OTK. At that point, I recommend you going for this into this, making this, then searching out something. Because that basically gives you the free card advantage anyways. But the reason why you probably want to play Ancient Gearbox is the card that you want to polymerization with is usually Ancient Gearbox and Volcanic Shell. This card is not the greatest to draw, but it does have 2,000 defense points, so it's not the end of the world if you actually draw it. Not necessarily like a Wolf, Lightsworn Beast. But next up, playing 1 Birdman. I love it. Opens up plays for Black Roses, just because sometimes, you know, decks set like 500 cards and like, oh, I just got that skill drain ready, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, I have the MST. So I just like it. Plus, it just allows me to make well, I have access to a level 7 Synchro Monster. I was debating on playing other things, but I feel like Black Rose is probably most relevant, and I'm really kind of stuck on Room for the Actor deck because I really like playing what I'm playing right now, and I'll explain the reasons why. once we get to that part. But next up I'm playing like one Maxi, one Vader. They're totally random here. I just like them though. They definitely work out sometimes in the right situation because I don't really like getting my Blaze Phoenix ruined. So I like that effect of Vader Maxi to kind of give it protection or kind of make my opponent question if they want to overextend and let me draw a bunch of cards. Because if you're going to overextend against this deck, you usually end up winning because this deck, obviously, it's any OTK based deck. If you're going to let them draw a bunch of cards, you know, usually they're going to win anyways. But next up, playing 3 copies of Volcanic Shell. You need to really play 3 of these. I thought this card was a Pyro. If this card was a Pyro, this deck would be so much better. But yeah, this card, unfortunately, is actually a Warrior. But Volcanic Shell, it's a pretty self-explanatory card. Like I mentioned before, through the play, you just Lavalval Chain it, and then you're good from there. Next up, 3 copies of Instant Fusion. It makes Nodin. Lavalval Chain's pretty important in the deck. That's why I'm playing 2 copies of it. But yeah, it makes Nodin, and Nodin is a pretty good card. Just lets you go into rank 4. It's really easy, which usually ends up being the Lavalval Chain. Keep in mind, you cannot make Geargia X. I was watching someone try to do it on Dueling Network. They're like, no, bro, I just overlaid 2 just Nodin into Geargia X, which would be awesome if that worked. But it does require machine type monsters, so if you happen to not be playing on DevPro, keep that in mind. Next up, Regeki. It's an OTK based deck, and usually you want the board cleared. You can get rid of 1, maybe 2 monsters depending on how awesome your hand is, but generally you'll be able to make Lavalval Chain, and then, I mean, you saw in the video I made, I think, like 3. I think these are the 3 that I went for, but usually you'll have access to making 1 Castel in addition to Geargia X, or you have like Lavalval Chain and Geargia X. Sometimes you just need that extra removal of a monster, and that Regeki will actually get rid of 2 monsters instead of that 1 that's on board. And Regeki is a pretty good card if you get, stuck against something like a Christie or something that makes it so you can't special summon, because this deck really needs to special summon. Next I'm playing 3 Polys, and then I'm playing 1 Ryota, so it's basically, like I said, it's kind of like playing 3 of these anyways. It's just, I like the Summoner Monk, and I don't really like drawing these cards that much, but if I draw this, it's basically like just thinning the deck anyways. Next up, 3 copies of MST, because this card is a thing in most decks, play 3 copies of anyways. Then I'm playing 1 Super Poly. Most of the time, Pyro and Machine aren't really too meta. There's not too many decks. I wish it was just like, it required like a fire. That'd be really nice, but it requires a Pyro and a machine type monster. But Super Poly, fantastic card, and you can actually usually use Nodin, and that's why I play 3 copies of Nodin instead of 2. Like, even though I'm playing 3 copies of Instant Fusion, I could just play 2 Nodin and get away with it. But because of Super Poly, I recommend you guys to play 3 copies of Nodin because it allows you to just finish off the game. Next up, Black Rose blows up the field. I like it a lot. Next up, Ragnar Zero works against Cleese, works against like any Bujin deck. Of course, if they don't have the right stuff in the graveyard, it's pretty awesome. And like that draw power, I love it, and it has decent attack too. 2400 is nothing to laugh at. And then we play 2 copies of your Geargia X. You're gonna probably make it like, usually you make it at least once most duels. If you get the effect of it twice, you pretty much should secure game, as long as your opponent doesn't happen to like OTK you or something like that. Next up, I'm playing 1 Honor Arc, and then I'm playing 2 copies of Castel. I love this card so much against just fusion decks and just things that you just want to bounce back instead of letting them hit the graveyard. Then I'm playing a Saitonai and of course 2 Lavalval Chains. So that's going to be the deck profile for the Blaze It Geargia deck that I've been playing. Like I said, it's a very fun deck. I don't know if it's going to be super competitive. I mean, I really feel like it needs Nodin though, because it just opens up more extensive plays and lets you get another, like, basically it's a 1-card rank 4, and it's just really key in certain moments because you need to be able to like either bounce back that card so you can finish it off for game, but more likely it's usually for the Lavalval Chain and getting Volcanic Shell to the graveyard to get those free card advantages. But if you guys actually want to see the deck in action, I'll have a link down below in the description box, and I'll show you guys how to basically play it. There's a lot more extensive plays. Like I mentioned before, the best play in the deck is basically, if you open up with Summoner Monk, of course you discard whatever, and then you want to go for this. Then Elemental Hero Blazeman's effect will activate, you add this, and then you go into the Lavalval Chain, and then from here you activate its effect, and then go ahead and send this to the graveyard, pay the 500 life points, and then from there you're able to add another one to your hand. So we'll put this one over here, and then from here, of course, you should hopefully have a machine, and then you can play aggressively. But what I really love with this deck is when you happen to have Vandy's Emptiness out, you don't even need to attack. So let's say you go for like the standard play, which is pretty common. Like I said, you have the Lavalval Chain, you have the Volcanic Shell. Let's say you happen to have Vandy's Emptiness too. So after you polymerization, you get rid of this one, and then you get rid of whatever machine you have, and you're going to make the Blaze Phoenix. And then what you can do from here is basically just activate, well, attack if they have no back row, and then flip the Vanity's emptiness immediately if they're happening to play something that inherently special summons. And then from there, what you can do is you can sit here and they can set all their cards. Maybe they set like the Raikos, and maybe they set like other cards, and you don't even really need to attack, and you can just finish them off from game. Most of the games, if they happen to have Blink board, you can finish them off. And if they happen to have 2 monsters, then usually, well, especially if they're face down, because then this card can't bounce, then you have to usually wait, like, you're going to push really hard, and the next turn, you can just burn for game. So I love this card a lot. But anyways, if you guys have any suggestions for this deck, I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Azneyes signing out.